we are now going to go over to Stephen and Stuart from L&Q for a phase 1 build update. Stephen and Stuart.
Yeah, hi, good evening, everyone. It's Steve Sage from L&Q. I'm just going to turn my camera off and share the screen if someone can let me know that we can see the drawing on the screen. Can we see the drawing?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. Still not?
Actually, I saw something flash on, so actually maybe, are you sharing a different screen? Like we saw your email briefly. So is it the correct window that
No, that's out. So you should be seeing a plan on the screen.
No. Can anyone else see it on the presenter's call? Just to make sure it's not just me. No, Andrew can't see it either. John, do you have
as a backup, I'd send you the plan. Hopefully you can pop it up on the screen.
Thank you, John.
Okay, well, I'll kick off. I'll start with an update on the Pioneer Park. Works were substantially complete on the Pioneer Park at the end of July, including the busway footpath from junction with Eagle Way up to the boundary with the Bovis Parcel H6. The amenity and wildflower areas were seeded at the end of July, and they're generally, for the past 2 months, they've been establishing quite well. Our contractors do need to re-roll and cut the grass, do the first cut on the grass. It's quite soft at the moment, but due to the recent rain, this is preventing them from doing that. But as soon as the ground conditions improve, we'll get the grass cut. At the last forum, I did state that we did not anticipate opening the park due to COVID. Although I'm pleased to tell you, however, that is now our intention to open up the park, Pioneer Park, at the end of October. To comply with the current government guidelines, we will have to implement some restrictions. This will mainly be around numbers using the MUGA and the larger pieces of play equipment at any one time, but we will be applying the rule of 6 as it currently stands. Obviously, things may change over the next 4 weeks, 3 weeks, but signage will be erected at each entrance to the park to communicate these restrictions. John, I can't really see, is the plan up on the screen now?
Yes, we can see it on the screen.
You can see it, okay. So I'm going to just move on to the rest of, or onto the Northern Greenway and the formal park. So LEAP 1 and the area known as GWA2, which sits between Wellington Road and Pathfinder School. These works did start in December last year. They've been carried out by the same contractor that's delivering the Pioneer Park. To date, the earthworks are complete, the drainage, the topsoiling, the planting and installation of the play equipment, along with the street lighting. But we're currently installing the footpaths, and then it's just seeding. And last time I reported we'd have this complete by September. Unfortunately, according to our contractor, it won't be complete until the end of October, again, weather permitting. I'm sorry this has taken far longer than anticipated to complete, but as I mentioned, I think at the last forum, our contractor has and is still experiencing resource and commercial issues caused by COVID. We have committed to him to support him, to enable him to complete the works, but due to really low resource levels, it's just taken longer. But either way, it's our intention, regardless, to open up the main lit footpath route between Wellington Road and Pathfinder Way at the end of October. And we'll fence off the rest of it until the grass is established. The water park and the balance of the Northern Greenway, including Leap 2. So if we move across to the west side of Wellington Park to Greenway A, which is GWA1, this forms part of the current works. In this area, the footpath works are ongoing. Streetlighting has been installed, and all we've got left to do for the hard landscaping works is the street furniture. So Greenway, Northern Greenway area known as GWA3, which sits between Stirling Road, GWA3 that sits between Stirling Road and the busway. We have realigned the footpath and reinstalled the street lighting through here. The bridge that sits and links the pedestrian link between Bovis Homes, parcel H6 and H10, that was delayed in manufacture. These bridges are manufactured in Holland. They've again blamed this down to COVID due to resource levels and due to transport issues getting over here. But it has now been installed, the bridge, but it has put the opening back of that footpath link up by sort of 3 weeks. So we were expecting that to be complete by the end of September, but we'll be opening that back up again at the end of this month now. Greenway, Northern Greenway GW4, which sits between the water park and Stirling Road. Again, the cycleway through here is substantially complete. We've experienced the same issues again with the timber bridge that links Linden Homes parcel H12 and Bovis Homes parcel H6, but this has now been delivered and has been installed this week. And the street furniture and installations, the street furniture installations are ongoing through GWA4. Leap 2, the start on Leap 2, this was delayed by about a month as we had to wait for some more hens that were nesting on the original pond to leave, but they have now left. We have completed the relocation of the pond. We've completed the drainage and the earthworks mounding. Works are ongoing currently. Construction of the wet play area. Still to complete in this area, we've got some play equipment and installation of benches, picnic tables and rubbish bins. Moving over to the western side to the large water park, the asphalt cycleways, the leisure route footpaths are all substantially complete. There is a 3-span timber bridge across the attenuation ponds here. Again, suffered the same delays with this, but that's now been delivered and that is currently being installed and should be finished by the end of next week. We've got some timber viewing dipping platforms around the southern attenuation pond to install. Again, these have been delayed. The subcontractor apparently had an outbreak of COVID with the resources, but these are now due to be installed next week. Installation of street furniture and the ecological features ongoing. So in general and in summary on the hard landscaping for the Northern Greenway and the water park, this is just hard landscaping, not soft landscaping. This was due to complete at the end of October. We have managed to mitigate some of the delays and we're looking for a finish at sort of mid-November at the moment. The programme for soft landscaping for the water park and the Northern Greenways. As I mentioned at the last forum, it's the planting, because it's bare root trees, is seasonal and will take place during this coming 2020-2021 planting season. We have agreed a start date with our Softworks contractor for the beginning of January. So they'll start on the Northern Greenway and on the water park in January, and they're due to complete the planting in March 2021. We'll then move on to preparing the rest of the areas, should assumption ground conditions will allow this, in April and May next year, with that seeding being completed by the end of May, and then it will get into its establishment period. Hattons Road ponds, the 2 larger attenuation ponds, for those that don't know, out on Hattons Road between the A14 interchange and the Long Stanton roundabout. Again, these are mainly soft landscaping works with some ecological features to put in here. Planting works will be starting in January 2021 with completion scheduled again for the end of March. Seeding works will then be carried out during April and May, depending on ground conditions, and then grass set into establishment. For the main infrastructure works, just a quick update around the main distributor roads. on the site. We're currently installing about 250 metres of footpaths and cycleways at 3 locations following completion of the frontage house building. This is on Wellington Road for David Wilson Homes and Eagle Way for Taylor Wimpey. Since the last forum, the footpath and cycleway along Stirling Road has been extended on both sides up to the Eagle Way junction on the Taylor Wimpey side and beyond on the Linden Home side, following completion of the frontage housing at these locations. And the footpath along Stirling Road between Linden Show Home and the junction with Eagle Way has been topped out. That kind of concludes my update on the public open space areas and the main infrastructure works. I have been sent a lot of questions on Monday and yesterday. I will try and address those that are relevant to L&Q. I am conscious of the time, and some of these are quite specific questions. So I'll try and be brief, but if anyone wishes sort of further detailed responses, can they please contact me directly outside this forum. But I'm going to kick off back again with the Pioneer Park. Someone has raised an issue or a question regarding the slope on the Muga. I can tell you that it has been constructed as it's been designed. It's a 1 in 100 longitudinal fall, and this is in accordance with the SAPCA guidelines. The reason that they require these gradients is to allow the surface water to run off quite quickly. Concrete blocks, someone has asked whether the blocks, someone asked a question about the blocks. Like, again, I can tell you that they have been installed around the 2 boundaries of the Muga. They are a proprietary block called a duo block. They are new, they're not recycled. They are and have been installed as specified by the landscape architect, and they are approved through the RM submissions. Also on the Pioneer Park, weeds and dead birch trees have been raised. So the original seabed was sprayed off. Weed growth will initially be controlled by cutting and an application of a selective herbicide to the amenity areas when the grass is more mature. The wildflower areas will take some years to establish and will only receive 2 cuts a year. They will look weedy for a period of time, and certainly any dead trees will be replaced during this coming planting season. Bins, frequency of emptying. Generally the litter and dog waste bins should be emptied on a fortnightly basis. This is sort of between April and September. Then we normally go to a 3-week emptying during October to March, and the frequency of emptying the bins are written into our contractors' contracts. Bins at the Western Park. Somebody's asked why so many dog bins. Well, David Wilson Homes erroneously installed 3 dog waste bins at opposite H7. We then installed ours, and so we have more than we actually should do. Some of the bins have been vandalised and graffitied. Fortunately, in this instance, our contractor installed the incorrect dog waste and litter bins. So the correct bin types have now been ordered, and we'll swap these out with the existing when our contractor receives them. The litter bins will be the double recycling type that have been installed on the green, and the dog waste bins will be the pole mounted type. I've been asked quite a few times, and recently again, about lighting of the temporary footpath from Stirling Road to the park and ride at the busway. We have said in the past that we did not intend to light the temporary footpath to the busway, and I'm sorry, but this is still currently the case. With regards to the permanent link, our permanent link has been installed adjacent on the busway, adjacent to Bovis parcel H6. Obviously, the County Council then need to extend that through the guided bus land, so there is full connectivity. My understanding, having contacted the County Council, is they're still struggling with costs and budgets to construct this permanent footpath link, but they are continuing to explore other options. Lighting outages, bulbs do blow. We will check the street lights and replace any bulbs that have blown. Completion of the main highway works, there's quite a few questions about this. I think it's worth probably just reiterating or perhaps stating a few points. The development of phase 1 is a work in progress. The construction, we do complete this in 3 stages. Stage 1 is the main earthworks, the drainage services and roads with the temporary curbs to bind, of course. This is all done before the house builders land on site. Stage 2 is we replace the temporary curbs with permanent curbs and construct the footways and the on-road cycleways up to binder course. When the housing is built on both sides of the roads, then we top off the footways as we have done on Stirling Road and parts of Pathfinder Way, well, all of Pathfinder Way actually, and parts of Wellington Road. I mean, the timing and the extent of the Stage 2 works, it's directly related to the completion of the frontage house building works. Stage 3 is when we top out the roads and the on-road cycleways. I mean, there are numerous separate building sites around the development, and we do need to get construction traffic to these sites. The only sensible way, I'm afraid, is along the main distributor roads. The County Council have advised that they won't adopt the highway works until the building works have been fully completed. The reason for that is they are concerned the potential damage that can be caused to the finished works by construction traffic and construction activities. So forecasts based on the historical completion and occupation rates show that the building works won't be completed until around 2026, and this may change in either way depending on the market conditions. And currently we do not intend to carry out the Stage 3 topping works of the cycleways and roads until closer to the completion date for house building. It's not an unusual scenario for large developments, particularly multiple outlet developments like Northstowe. I mean, having said that, I'm sure there are improvements that we can make, and this is something that we're actively reviewing at the moment. And based on that review, we do intend to implement where we can and what we can before the end of the year. Kingfisher Pond. Many questions about Kingfisher Pond. Again, it's important to note, I think, initially, that it's my understanding from discussions with my colleagues that the Kingfisher Pond and the margins were not meant to be turned into sort of a manicured village pond, and that a very light touch is required in respect to the management of the existing trees and the vegetation. We have had the pond looked at by a consultant who specialises in ecology and habitat management. In his words, nature is taking its course and the pond is starting to turn into a wet woodland. The main cause of this is the low groundwater levels. I mean, in his opinion, unless the water levels increase, to try and do anything meaningful with the pond itself, it's really fighting a losing battle. His suggestion is actually to let nature take its course. We have arranged for him to go in and try and remove the reed mace that's growing in the middle of the pond, but that's where it is. Or that's where we are at the moment. A concern has been raised also about the cycle lane and busway entrance off Stirling Road. Vehicles travelling down the cycle lane between the footpath and the landscaping strip. We have ordered a bollard, or our contractors ordered a bollard to be installed at the head of the cycle lane. We've also ordered replacement signage to show that it's construction access only down the head of the busway, down to the Spova site compound. And the busway beyond this has been blocked off. Also, a question has been raised about opening Eagle Way to the west of the busway junction for public access at the David Wilson site. We don't intend to open this up yet. The safety reasons for closing it in the first place are still very much valid. It also helps actually to split the construction traffic, probably in a 70% split down Wellington Road and down Stirling Road. Use of the dedicated busway. Talking with colleagues, I believe it's always been recognised that the operation of the buses along the busway wouldn't be viable until the town centre in phase 2 has been constructed or completed. And obviously the busway link from the end of phase 1 through phase 2 to the town centre also needs to be constructed. Homes England, I think, should be able to provide more indication of start completion dates for the town centre in phase 2. A question has been raised about the surface material on the west side of the allotments and the sports field. I just point out this is a public rights of way. It's not a designated leisure route footpath, as you see all the other breed and gravel bound footpaths around the Western Park and around the greenways. I think at some point it's will be dedicated as a bridle way in the future. So the construction material surface finish were agreed with the public rights of way officers, with the due cognizance that it will eventually become a bridle way. Question raised about plastic and windblown waste from building sites. It is something that we continue to raise with the house builders. We will continue to do this. Any waste that has blown into the water park and the greenways from the house building sites will be cleared during the current construction works. Someone has asked if we can have a designated barbecue spot on the Western Park. The Western Park is not, it's dedicated to sports facilities and is not really the appropriate place to have barbecues. Could I please ask that if you want barbecues, please restrict them to your back gardens. Somebody has also asked, can we have a covered meeting space on the green for meeting? A sale type. Also, can something more permanent be erected in the town centre? I believe, obviously, this is in relation to phase 2. With reference to the green, there was no sort of feature originally specified, or this type of feature specified for this area. To be perfectly honest, I'm not quite sure what's being suggested. So if whoever sent this question in, please contact me directly and we can discuss further. Home England, I'm sure, will be able to advise on if there's any such feature planned for the town centre. The hog roast van, I have received a couple of plaints previously from residents regarding unsafe parking by patrons of the hog roast van. We have recently moved him into the large lay-by near the junction of Stirling Road and Links Lanes, is partly because access was needed to the employment land where he was originally set up, but partly to see if it helped the parking situation in that people could actually use the lay-by. From a couple of comments I've received yesterday via John, it doesn't sound like this has improved the situation, but he does provide a service for contractors and residents. It's his main source of income. I'd like to exhaust every option before we move David on. Somebody has asked about a skate park and swimming pool. In respect of phase 1, again, there was obviously no requirement for this. There's obviously now no capacity to incorporate a swimming pool or skate park. Not sure again about phase 2, but again, hopefully Homes England will be able to shed some light on this. There are some questions I think that's come up this evening regarding cycle lanes, and certainly ones that have been raised before, and people parking in cycle lanes. And this is generally referring to the on-road cycle lane that sits between the road and the footpath. There's no simple answer, I'm afraid, other than asking residents to stop parking initially in the on-road cycle lanes. I mean, they are designed with the ease of access from cyclists to go from road to cycle lane, from cycle lane to road. And to do that, there has to be a flush curb. This obviously, there's no upstand to the curb, so this makes it quite easy for people just to park on the cycle lane. The situation will improve when there is full connectivity of the cycle lanes around the development. At the moment, cycle lanes start and stop, and until the frontage housing is complete, there won't be full connectivity. When they are topped out, they'll be topped out with a red surface, and there'll be signage to say that they are cycle lanes. And when they are adopted as public highway, it will be a lot easier to enforce the no parking. I think that's the end of the questions that I've received. If I just hand you over to Stuart to cover a few additional points, Stuart.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. There's just a couple of points from me, really. We've had a few questions about shops, the employment land. Just to let everyone know that we are currently, we do have a potential purchaser of both the employment land and the local centre. That will include the shops as well.
I think Stuart seems to have frozen, and he was very echoey as well. So we'll wait for him to come back on. Oh, Stuart, are you still there?
I'm still here, yes. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can now. It's much better now.
Okay, sorry about that. I was just saying that we do have a potential purchaser of both the employment land and the local centre, the mixed-use centre behind the green. We're hoping that that sale will go through in the next month or so. We're just going through the legals on that. And then subject to that, I understand that the purchaser will be looking to submit a planning application for a separate application for the employment land and the local centre. And included within that local centre will be the community building, which I understand that Peter will be speaking to later on. So that's where we are. And there's one or two comments coming through on the Facebook I've noticed about the covered area. I know that Steve just covered that off, and potentially that could be incorporated within the community building area when a planning application goes through. That's a potential opportunity there. So that's it really from me, just to give you an update on where we are on those.
Thanks, guys. Okay, I'm just picking up one more question from earlier. Stephen, you said that the stitch through the Western Park, which joins the watercourse at the back of Prentice Close, will be cleared in autumn this year. What dates will that be happening? You're on mute.
Sorry, I'm not good at this sort of thing here.
You've done very well so far.
Yeah, that is planned to do. The ditch courses will be cleaned out because we need to do that before the soft landscaping starts really in January, and certainly before the seeding starts in April. So we plan to clean that out between mid-November and the end of the year.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you both for answering a very comprehensive set of questions. I think we've pretty much covered most of the topics. If there are additional ones, I'm just conscious of the time. If you wouldn't mind, you can email Stephen directly, or Alex and I would be happy to pass them on, or John would be too. So I think most of the topics did get covered. So thanks very much to you both. And we will now move on to phase 1 planning, where we've got James Tipping, who is our brand new planning officer from South Cambs, to give us an update. James.
Thanks, Sarah. Yes, so I just want to be very brief in terms of what I need to say. Yes, as you alluded to, so I'm quite new to the authority, so I'm a senior planner. And I'm looking after or dealing with some of the planning matters in relation to phase 1. So there are several at the moment, several live planning applications, most of which are either discharge or conditions associated with some of the existing reserve matters permissions, or they're to do with minor amendments to existing schemes. There is an existing reserve matters or live reserve matters application for parcel H9, which is to the south of phase 1, and that's for 130 dwellings, and that I believe was submitted last year, so it should be determining soon, but I don't have a date for that. But that's sort of the main or the last remaining parcel that's to be approved. All the rest have approvals, though you'll see that not all are starting to be built out. But yes, as I say, that's the last parcel to be approved. So I've already started to engage with some of the developers and land promoters, such as L&Q and such like, and sort of continue to progress with that engagement to ensure that some of the planning matters that are obviously currently live will be hopefully resolved in due course. But yes, that's my task, and that's what I've progressed with. But I think that's it for me at the moment, Sarah.